The book was really about a man who wanted to live alone on the road, in flux, airport to airport, hotel to hotel. And I really liked that. I liked its core ideas, but I wanted to kind of inject my own kind of personal plot into it so that I could begin to ask my own questions of the character. Up in the Air follows Ryan Bingham, who's played by George Clooney. He's a guy who fires people for a living, but is passionate about air miles. That's his real thing. He collects miles and lives his entire life on the road, living hotel to hotel, airport to airport, plane to plane. He lives his entire life in flux, and that, is his kind of core philosophy, that life would be better lived alone and with nothing. And then this philosophy is challenged by two women, played by Anna Kendrick and Vera Farmiga. When I first started writing, I thought, I dreamed that maybe George Clooney could play the role, but I would never assume that he would have. And it was only, 6 years later, having finished the screenplay, that I finally gave it to him. And it was a thrilling moment when he said yes. Ryan's philosophy is that life should be lived alone. And we challenge that philosophy with two characters. Alex, played by Vera Farmiga, and Natalie, played by Anna Kendrick. Alex, of course, is his romantic interest, and, challenges the idea of whether he wants to live the rest of his life, single. While Natalie becomes a kind of surrogate daughter to him, and it's through this that we get to see George Clooney as a dad for the first time. When I first started writing the screenplay, the world was a different place. We were at the tail end of an economic boom, and I was writing a corporate satire, much like Thank You for Smoking. But once we got closer to shooting, I realized, we were in the midst of a recession, and I could not satirize this idea anymore. I wanted to pay tribute to the people who were losing their jobs and treat it as authentically as possible. So, while shooting in St. Louis and Detroit, I came up with the idea to bring in real people who had lost their jobs, to talk honestly about what it's like to be searching for purpose in the middle of your life, and also express how you actually react when you lose your job. I use each of my films as an opportunity to ask questions that bother me. Thank You for Smoking dealt with being a libertarian and also having a heart. Juno was about, the moment you decide to grow up. This is a movie about what you want to complete your life with. How do you want to fill your life? In the words of the movie, what do you want to put in your backpack? And over the last 6 years, I really grew up. I went from a single guy living in an apartment to, married with a kid, living in a house, and doing, what I love, directing movies. And over the course of those 6 years, I kind of learned what was important in my life. And it gave me an opportunity to ask those same questions to Ryan. I needed a way to kind of sum up this idea of living alone, about the value of having zero attachments. And, being a guy who carries a backpack every day, it just kind of suddenly clicked that if you could somehow feel the weight of not only the things in your life, but the people, the relationships, the weight of all the compromises you make on a daily basis, it just was, if you could feel the backpack, you could actually feel it on your shoulders. I travel a lot. I mean, as a director, when I'm promoting a movie, I could be in a new city every day. I know what it's like to live out a rollaway bag, and I wanted it to be absolutely 100% authentic. I didn't want any business travelers to, call BS on this movie. So I made sure the details were right, and I choreographed everything from the way that Ryan packs his bag to the way he goes through security. There's lots of ways to shoot from a helicopter, and because of that, you're used to seeing footage from 5,000, 6,000 feet. But shoot up at 25,000 feet requires, it requires so many days of shooting in different planes, even Cessnas with pilots wearing oxygen masks, planes with periscope lenses through the bottom of the floor, with cameras mounted on the wing. It was more complicated than I ever would have thought, but I'm very proud of the results. My title sequences have been done by a group called Shadowplay, who I met as a short filmmaker and I just love their creativity. I really enjoy title sequences, and I think it's sad that they've gone by the wayside. But they come at each of my films with great ideas and really set the table for the movie. I've never saw myself as a comedy director or drama director. I always thought that drama and comedy are techniques that allow you to make a more complicated film. So the films that I aspire to make are the kind of films I love. Films that use comedy, drama, danger, romance, just to tell a story. If I had 10 million air miles, what I would do? The truth is, you don't collect the miles to do anything with them. You collect them to collect them. So if I had 10 million air miles, I guess my proudest achievement would be having them and pointing it out to other people.